Since I pretend to know things about writing on the internet, I get asked a lot of questions. And there are two types of questions I get asked. In fact, every single writing question I have ever been asked falls into one of two categories. The first category I have dubbed secure questions. Secure questions come from people who know what they want from their story and are asking for guidance on how to get what they want. My protagonist's emotions are inconsistent and their beliefs are confusing. How can I clarify who this person is? This arc I've written feels too quick. What can I do to slow it down? These characters are too similar. I wanted them to be opposites. How can I make that happen without scrapping my whole narrative? I'm not satisfied with my conclusion. Can you help me figure out why and think up something better? I love questions like these because it's just you and me working on your vision. The second category I call insecure questions. Some examples of insecure questions are: how do I make the audience care about my characters? How do I make my villains hateable? How do I make my ships shippable? How do I inspire people? How do I write something people will like? Where secure questions are just about you achieving your personal goals and creating something you're proud of, insecure questions are about pleasing the audience.
What's so wrong with that?
Well, I will tell you. These people think they're asking for writing advice, but what they're actually asking for is consumer psychology advice. Every audience member is different. This is why you and your friends have different tastes. This is how I'm able to love Blade Runner 2049 even though Turner thinks it's unwatchable. I know you know there are no solid answers. There is not and never will be a one-size-fits-all universal solution for grabbing the audience by the heart. So what are you really asking? Are you asking, how do I appeal to the greatest number of people? Well, if you broke into Disney HQ, you could probably find some focus group info. Do you want a scene to make people sad? Well, I guess you could dig up some data on the types of things people find the most sad. You want it to be memorable? Yeah, we can look into the types of things people tend to remember, or the images they most associate with childhood, or the colors that make them happy or sad or anxious, but you see what I mean? This is what I hear when you ask me, local script man, how do I make my audience emotional? You are asking me how to manipulate them. You are asking me how to press the right buttons in their brains so that they think and feel what you want them to think and feel. And I'm telling you, this is as technically infeasible as it is creatively bankrupt. My confidence as an artist comes from the understanding that my art and the way my audience feels about my art are fundamentally two different conversations. And maybe you disagree, maybe you think they're the same conversation. In college, I had to sit through 3.5 years of Marshall McLuhan sociology, communication theory sludge. I'm well acquainted with the arguments about how communication creates reality and so on and so forth. They're certainly kind of compelling, I just don't find them useful for writing fiction. So when people whip them out on me, I'm like, yeah, sure, good luck on your paper. I hope you deconstruct the dichotomy or whatever. The thing is, though, most people don't conflate these ideas because of some well-thought-out philosophy. They conflate these two ideas because they are insecure. They don't have faith in their own creative choices, so they need other people to validate them. They're willing to contort and corrupt their art to meet a standard that is neither quantifiable nor universal. Yeah, I have my rules for my work, but there is no such thing as an objectively good story. You have to decide on that standard yourself, and you have to do it for you. And this is hard because new artists don't know what a breakthrough feels like. After you've been writing for a while, you start to develop this sixth sense where an idea will just hit you and you'll be like, yep, that's the one, moving on.
Or like, it could be something cute like Annie, because that's like Anne Bonnie. Or like Bonnie.
I like Bonnie.
Oh, Bonnie's the one. It's got to be Bonnie.
It's Bonnie.
I'm going to lop off his head, but he can operate without a head.
Oh, he picks it up. Oh, he melts the wax of the head
back
somehow,
on.
and he boink.
That rocks.
It's the greatest feeling ever. And when you haven't had that feeling yet, you know you haven't solved the problem. So you keep working. It's an internal litmus test. Is this sparking joy? But if you haven't trained those instincts yet, your brain will be like, I don't know. Is it a good idea? I should see what people think. Excuse me, sir. Do you like my story, or should I change it? Fundamentally, it's a lack of confidence. Inexperienced writers will bring me their scripts, and they'll have this skittish demeanor where no idea feels any better than the next. And when I realize I'm dealing with one of these people, I'll sit them down and I'll be like, I want you to name one part of the story that you love. What's the one thing that has to stay? What's the reason you're writing this? And they'll give me an answer and we'll build it out from there. Because as much as I talk about structure and tactics and all that, step one is you have to plant your feet and figure out what you want. You know that phrase, too many cooks in the kitchen? Well, trying to please the audience is like having another cook in the kitchen. Except the cook is some kind of incomprehensible Lovecraftian god that just wants to bang pots together until you go insane and start shaving your skin off with a cheese grater. It is a formless, directionless insecurity, and I've been doing this for long enough that I can practically smell it emanating off of someone. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's in the subtle wording of a question. It's in me. I have to constantly fight to keep that performative urge at bay. Excuse me, sir, do you like me? Do you like my thing? 'Cause I'll change. I'll change to please you, oh unpleasable void. Now, here's the good news. It turns out when you really give a shit and make things for yourself, the audience tends to like your stuff more. There's a reason we have words like cheesy, corny, preachy, ham-fisted, exposition-y. People can tell when a story is bending over backwards to accommodate them, and they tend not to like it. I constantly think about this Bryan Cranston interview where he says you have to play comedy dead serious because if the character knows what they're doing is funny, then that takes the impetus off the audience to laugh. And so many actors have said the same thing about crying. The deeper truth I think this is approaching is that audiences don't actually want the story to acknowledge their existence or tell them how to feel. Whether or not they know it, they want to be trapped on the other side of the fourth wall. They want to observe and be helpless. And if they get the impression that they're being performed for, that someone is trying to make them feel something, it can kill the immersion. Because the whole point of fiction is that the characters live in a little simulation and that they don't know their characters. The moment this corrupts this, they will smell the inauthenticity of your art and they will get turned off. So in conclusion, here's my official answer. For all the marbles, if you really want to make the audience care, stop caring about them. Video over. You already know what's up. I'm on the Treon. I fix people's story problems, and if you like my content, consider subscribing. But, only if you like my content. You like my content, right? You like me, right? Oh,